Okay, let's talk about something you've probably heard about or maybe even seen firsthand. It's this big, confusing issue of why boys, on average, seem to be struggling in school more than girls. It's a huge topic, and today we're going to dive into a really fascinating explanation for it.
So really, what is going on here? Why are so many boys falling behind academically? There are a lot of theories out there, but we're going to explore one that might just be hiding in plain sight, right inside the teenage brain.
And look, this isn't just a hunch or a feeling. The data is pretty clear. You can see there's this persistent gap across all kinds of key metrics, from GPAs to test scores. Girls are just consistently outperforming boys. The numbers don't lie, the gap is real, and it's having a pretty big impact.
Now, people have all sorts of explanations for this. You hear things like, well, 3 out of 4 teachers are female. Or maybe it's that boys have lower expectations for college. And of course, there are always those big, broad societal pressures. And yeah, those are all definitely part of the conversation.
But what if there's something simpler, something more fundamental going on? What if the answer isn't just about our culture, but it's actually about our biology? I'm talking about the very different timetables on which teenage brains actually develop.
All right, to get our heads around this, we need to picture the adolescent brain as this kind of internal battle. Think of it like a car with a really powerful accelerator, but some pretty weak brakes.
And this is where it gets super interesting. That accelerator, that's our sensation-seeking side. It's the part that craves new things, excitement. It's the voice screaming, "Go to the party!" Then you've got the brake. That's our impulse control, our ability to think long-term and plan ahead. That's the voice whispering, "I really need to study." And here's the kicker. That accelerator matures way earlier than the brake.
Stanford biologist Robert Sapolsky puts it perfectly. He says the part of the brain that's supposed to be hitting the brakes, the frontal cortex, it just doesn't stand a chance against the part of the brain that's demanding all that excitement. The accelerator is just floored, and the brakes, well, they're just not ready for prime time yet.
So here's the thing. All teenagers are dealing with this accelerator and brake problem. But this is the crucial point. This is where that gender gap really starts to make sense. It's not about how male and female brains work differently. It's about when they develop.
Just let that number sink in for a second. 2 years. The prefrontal cortex, we're talking the CEO of the brain, the part in charge of planning and impulse control, it develops about 2 full years later in boys than it does in girls. That is a massive developmental gap right in the middle of some of the most important years of a person's life.
And it's not just in one spot. Take the cerebellum. It helps regulate emotion and our thinking. For girls, it hits its full size around age 11. But for boys, they don't get there until about age 15. That is a 4-year difference in maturity for a really key part of the brain.
And it's not just about getting bigger either. The brain also has to do this big cleanup job to become more efficient. And you guessed it, that process also happens on a totally different schedule for boys and girls.
The scientific name for this is neural pruning. It's basically the brain's way of getting rid of connections it doesn't need to make the important ones stronger. It's all about making the whole system run faster and smarter.
The easiest way to think about it is like trimming a hedge, right? You cut back all the wild, overgrown branches so the whole plant can get stronger and have a better shape. The brain is basically just tidying up.
So, the next time you ask a teenage boy why he can't be more like his sister, well, this is his scientifically accurate, though probably not very helpful, response. What he's really saying is that the parts of the brain needed for high-level thinking are getting refined at totally different rates, and that gap is biggest right around age 16.
Okay, so brains are on different timelines. So what? Why is this such a huge deal when it comes to school? Well, as they say, timing is everything.
And here is the absolute crux of the issue. That 2 to 3 year developmental lag for boys hits its peak during middle school and high school. That is precisely when grades, final exams, and college applications demand the most impulse control, the most planning, and the most long-term thinking. The very skills their brains are literally still building.
And hey, this isn't some fringe theory. A huge report back in 2019 from the National Academies of Sciences flat out confirmed that these brain development differences are totally relevant for understanding gender gaps. But here's the really frustrating part. So far, this science has had basically zero impact on how we actually run our schools.
So all of this leads us to a really interesting and kind of uncomfortable conclusion. Our education system, with no bad intentions at all, might be fundamentally mismatched with the developmental timeline of about half of its students.
So, if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. The biggest neurological difference that's impacting school isn't how boys and girls' brains work in the long run, it's when they mature. It's a timing problem.
And just to be super clear, this isn't about blaming anyone. The system wasn't built to favor one group over another. It was just built at a time when we couldn't see these kinds of developmental differences, and frankly, old-school societal roles kind of masked them anyway.
Which leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on, doesn't it? We now know for a fact that our students' brains are hitting these key developmental milestones at very different ages. So the real question is, if we know their brains are running on different clocks, shouldn't our schools be?